So I'm going to do some invites over here. I don't know how well we paying attention, but they telling us that Brazil is in total anarchy, total social meltdown about a presidential election. So they showed the video footage, and I noticed something that got my attention. The people that they saying is tearing shit up in Brazil wasn't really doing nothing but standing there. And then the irony of it is, not only were they just standing there, all them people in Brazil is dressed in yellow t-shirts, Oshun colors. That got my attention. Are they lying on these people? Is Brazil doing the biggest Oshun ritual known to man to call the sweet water back? I don't know. I don't know nobody from Brazil I can ask to call home and find out, is they really tearing shit up, or is they doing a calling the Sweetwater Oshun ritual? And if they calling the Sweetwater Oshun ritual, that's going to send a chain reaction, and Haiti going to be right behind them. Because soon as Haiti call that Oshun, do that Oshun ritual, all these dirty players get drug out. Right? Go back and look at that. Brazil. They showing the videos in flashes. First of all of the videos wasn't around now. Some of them are older because I've seen some of that footage before about similar incidents in Brazil. But the the ones that I'm noticing is all these people with this gold and white shit on. That's Oshun ritual. These motherfuckers I believe they lying to us, y'all. Again. I believe that they trying to get us to fall for the banana in the tailpipe, and they don't want that shit that Brazil doing to reach Haiti. Because when Haiti called back to Sweetwater, that's a wrap. I'm just saying. Look at this. They saying that it's all out anarchy, but the people not tearing up nothing, and they dressing up like Oshun. They dressing in Oshun colors. The crazy thing about that, I go to the dock damn near every day. And today I get an Oshun flag, right? Because I was going down there. This is brand fucking spanking new. Laying in the middle of a street with almost zero traffic. What's the odds? A scavenger hunt. The checker flag of Oshun mean we about to wrap this shit up. Sweetwater returns as soon as the message is heard sufficiently. But look at that Brazil. Anybody that knows Oshun colors, look at what the people doing when they telling us they in anarchy and they tearing shit up. It just don't make sense to me to be otherwise at this particular point in time. But I need some oracle readers or tarot readers to read on that and see if it's what they telling us, or some people that know the Oshun rituals to look at it and see if it match. If those colors match what they telling us, because that don't for sure. Let me pin that for you. Where you go? Oh. Because this shit is just too odd. Brazil supposed to be in anarchy because they are in dispute about an election. You sure they ain't really talking about over here is in dispute of an election, but they showing us the people doing the ritual, and they using the election story as the pretext to show us the footage, because this shit just don't sit right for some reason. If y'all watching, the shit just don't sit right. Right. So I'm sitting here watching this shit, and it just strikes me as odd. Now, I posted some receipts on, some more receipts on Enlil's arrest and all that shit. Inky coming to get Enlil kids and upgrade, bring the original template for the DNA is activated through the solar rays. So when they say Inky coming to bring back the original blueprint, it's because, see if I can try to explain this where it makes sense to y'all. Where we at in the galactic clock at this particular close of the age going into this Aquarian, it's like we traveling through a tube of time in a big circle. At this point in the tube, which is also laid down as our path through the universe, or what they call the Milky Way galaxy. So in this trajectory, there's another tube intersecting at the close of the age. In this inner tube, this other tube is a ray of blue UV light, some kind of blue light that the galaxy naturally uses to cleanse planets. This is the time when the earth was going to get cleansed, whether we woke the fuck up or not. Because when you go through this blue light, it upgrades, it restores first. So your DNA had to go back to the original sequence code, which is going to unlock all of the junk DNA in order for it to properly align. Once it properly aligns, it's going to auto-correct all of the errors that they typed in the genome using tech and Sumer when they was making reptilian mammalian hybrids to be able to put them in servitude and strip down the DNA, draw back the telomeres to cut the age. That was the first thing they did, because once you can get them to die early, they can't remember, because some of the souls is so old it take longer to remember. So we had to condense that shit. So we had to learn with speed. So they gave us a maxim that became an active energy signature to work by. It says, be wise with speed, for a fool at 40 is a fool indeed. Which ties into the Islamic 40 hadith. And one of the 40 hadith is say that one of the companions heard the prophet say, seek knowledge even unto China, which from the Middle East to China is the farthest east you can go. But if you over here, shit, China way far. So when you look at it from that angle, like we over here and we seeking knowledge all the way into China, what good is that going to do us to give a fuck about what's going on in China? It's not about China. It's about where all this shit started in the Middle East. Because if I don't go all the way to China for my motherfucking research on my good Moorish education, I'm going to overlook the Middle East. I'm going to overlook them switching the gender of the goddess Allah into a god named Allah. And then I'm going to overlook, because I overlooked that, I won't never find out that the Quran was what Enlil gave to Alexander, but Alexander was Enlil's son. See, I wouldn't have never put these things together because of the book that Get this book. It's called The Book Your Church Don't Want You to Read. Everybody read that, especially if you're one of them Bible thumpers. It's necessary you read that, but in there, it's going to tell a story about Alexander, and he's being tutored in the hanging gardens, and these two angels come up to him, and that's the Muhammad story, right? So now we know who behind this shit, because the Quran was put together by Catholic priests. Ain't that something? Them the same motherfuckers that put the Old Testament together after they put the New Testament together. Dr. Ben got a lecture. I'm trying to think of the name of it. I think it's called Who Are the Jews or something like that. But in there, he said that the Old Testament was written hundreds of years after the New Testament. Let that sink in for a minute. The Old Testament was written hundreds of years after the New Testament. The New Testament was assembled in 325 AD by Emperor Constantine in the Council of Nicaea. Then 2 years later, 327, they had to call back the council because they left something out that was critical for Catholic faith. They left out the statues that the priests would sit on the altars. Right? That's a critical clue because that's Babylonian priesthood. And this is the black box that they talking about. And the black box you call the Kaaba. So when you realize what they doing, they trying to hold ancient Babylonian rites together. When they hold these Babylonian rites together, then they can have you doing your self-sacrifice to their deity, their God, Yahweh, Allah. Allah is Ninner sin. Yahweh is Enlil, his father, right? Bahal, their dad, was both Enlil and Enki had sons who held that title. So they switch names. They change genders, they cross-dress, anything they can do to mislead you, but they always leave you a clue. They forever leaving a clue. They got to leave a clue or else they'll be in violation of galactic law. And they follow that shit, but they will bend the fuck out of a rule before they break it. They will have that motherfucker twisted up like a pretzel before they break it. So, in all of their falsehoods, they gave us a little bit of truth. So when we thought that we were being made mockery of by blackface, white faces was telling black faces who was behind the white faces. And we thought it was mockery by parody when it was revelation of truth by motherfuckers being used as the fall guy, the coat sievers, the crash dummy, the stunt man, the stunt double, the lookalike, the actor-like, the one who take the fall for the ones who really doing the job. Them motherfuckers, right? They don't want to be nobody crash dummy, nobody coat sievers, stunt man. They don't want to do motherfucking real life motherfucking crash dummy tests in GM, Ford, and Chrysler vehicles while they smash into the wall to see if they gonna survive it. Don't nobody want to be in that motherfucking dumbass spot. And then at the end, when everybody get mad, you supposed to be the motherfucker that they kill just because you look different. That's fucking retarded shit. I once asked Brother Hardiel about this shit. And he say, you know what, brother? He had a real raspy voice. He said, brother, you a wise African. They can't fool a wise African. So they ain't going to be able to fool you. I said, God damn, Hardiel. I ain't no African, but I understand where you're coming from. I understand that trail you laying down. Right? So he introduced me to Dr. Ben. I was already up on Dr. Clark. He introduced me to Dr. Valentine. He gave me about 20 Dr. Valentine tapes. I was so OD'd on Dr. Valentine, I didn't want to hear nothing else he had to say. Whew, he gave me so much Dr. Valentine to listen to. But he also gave me books to read by different people too. Hardiel that's a good ass man right there. That's a good, I don't like to say good brother, because when them dirty Moors finna come at you for some bullshit, they always say, listen here, good brother, let me holler at you for a minute. Soon as I hear that shit, my motherfucking skin go to crawling. Don't call me fucking good brother. You call me good brother, I'm so suspicious of your ass out the gate. I'm so suspicious that you don't know that suspicious could be that suspicious. I'm telling you. But anyway, Hardiel got a heart of gold. That's why his last name Hart, because he got a heart of gold. And he break bread with you. He give you all the knowledge you want. A1 brother, A to Z. I was with him for about a year in Riverside Correctional. But when I was locked up, I loved me some Atlantics. Most of us don't know about a group called the Atlantic Palace of the Rising Sun out of Detroit that was formed. It was created in the Michigan Department of Corrections. And they hold Nat Turner. The idea of Nat Turner is the ideal prophet. Nat Turner is the prophet for the Atlantic Palace of the Rising Sun. And so the brothers there was so like, they was like over the top with the knowledge tip, with the I don't give a fuck, right is right, wrong is wrong type shit. Them was my dudes. Anyway, so I had a lot of them that dropped a lot of knowledge on me. Some of them was taking that shit to the extreme before they even got to the root. So, but so what they thought they was gonna do is start this helter skelter shit. See, they tried to put Manson up to it. See, and if you trust ISIS wisdom, you might as well just hang up your motherfucking shit. Cause if you trust her, you a brave motherfucker. And that's all I got to say about that. I'm not that goddamn brave. I tried it didn't work. Anyway, so the different people that came with different pieces of information, right? I spent a lot of time with the brothers in the nation, a lot of times with Nuwabians, a lot of time with Sunnis. Them Sunnis is crazy. Them Sunnis is fanatical, like crackhead fanatical about a religious doctrine. I don't fuck with them. They be wrong. They the ones who put the hit out on Salman Rushdie for writing a book called Satanic Verses, because they said that it was a parody of the Prophet Muhammad. They don't even know that the Prophet Muhammad really, the character of the book comes from Rome. So that shit right there. Whew. So everybody had a different way to make us look over the water. Garvey said, form a confraternity. See, everybody talking this shit about Marcus Garvey, want everybody to go set up an empire in Africa. That ain't what Garvey taught. See, they take the stance of us working with Pan-Africanists in Africa as being that they want us all to just pack our shit and move to Africa. Was the dumbest shit I ever heard. And I read through all the Garvey stuff, everything I could find, written by him or somebody wrote about him. I see a bunch of people saying return home, but I don't see no bunch of motherfuckers say we all need to go to Africa, because everybody ain't from no fucking Africa. That's just the way it is. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So, let me show y'all something. Because of Garvey, seeing get a good form a confraternity, and if you're gonna join politics, be a Pan-Africanist. Pan mean global. A global Africanist. Africa mean tying back to the land over there, the tribal structures. Because you got to remember, in the early 1900s, they just now starting to penetrate the interiors of Africa after they've assaulted it from all sides. So when you look back to Africa with a clear view of Pan-Africanism, of studying the global Africa, you'll see that they're going through the same thing we going through, and they got the same motherfuckers invading them that we got invading us. We just ain't got the shit to realize. That's what the Berlin Conference was about. Because once they thought they had us under control, then they doubled back and held the Berlin Conference. Okay, now that we got them motherfuckers over there under control, what we gonna do about these niggas over here? See, so in the Berlin Conference, they divided Africa up into lines of demarcation to make countries. Africa wasn't divided up by countries like this, which y'all see in this modern map. Africa was divided up by tribal rights to cleanse the land. It had nothing to do with modern politics. All the way up until recently, they started drawing these lines of demarcation that's based on the Berlin Conference. So if you following what Garvey said, you're going to run into a guy named Stephen Biko. You're going to run into a writer named Sheikh Anta Diop. You're going to run into a writer named Walter Rodney. You're going to run into a writer named Frantz Fanon. And you're going to run into a whole bunch of motherfuckers say, why do y'all keep thinking y'all came the fuck from over here? Nigga, you from over there. The Africans in Africa keep telling us that we from over here, and we keep arguing them down, say, Master Good Book say, I'm from over there. I came on a ship, and I was shackled and chained for 90 days, crossed them waters. Get the fuck out of here. Yes, I don't never want to forget about Steve Coakley. Steve Coakley was the one pulled the lines of communication for the Masonic orders all the way out in the open. Oh, Ivan Van Sertima, they came before Columbus. He also edited African presence in early Europe, African presence in early Asia, African presence in early America. And he laid that shit out. They came before Columbus. Like, nigga, don't believe Columbus was the first one of the scouts they sent over here. They had already scouted you out before Columbus came. They just was coming to fulfill sending Columbus to sea. Read the memoirs of Columbus. Read what he wrote in his diary, the diaries of Columbus. He said that these gonna be some easy motherfuckers to overthrow down here, because these motherfuckers believe in some shit called love and prosperity and treat your brother the way you treat yourself. All that shit in this book. Right. But Steve Coakley didn't understand where the Boule was so when he was talking about the Boule, he was talking based on French noble standards and French nobility, and the Boule would be the commoners who worked throughout the community to relay information back to the crown. That's what he got the term Boule for. He called them the Black Boule because he said they was feeding the information back to the so-called white man. But Steve Coakley never discovered the fact that the goddamn white man ain't even white. He didn't never discover that fact. Because had he discovered that fact, he would have took a 180-degree turn and he'd have seen the real enemy. And then he'd have had a whole bunch of support, because he would have seen clearly the devil face to face. And that's when all hands would have been on deck to back Steve Coakley up. And they wouldn't have let him poison him. I don't know if I was supposed to tell y'all he got poisoned. But he was putting motherfuckers on the trail so thick, right? Because, now remember, Noble Ali said, I took all of the secrets out the secret societies, put it in public domain. All of the fraternal orders come through the Prince Hall schools, except for the ones that's called Red Lodge. Then they spin offs from the Scottish Rite. Like, so you got two different groups of fraternities and sororities. And sometimes they'll almost have the same call letters and be on the same campus, and you will have one mistaken for the other because they always try to undermine you, like by changing the names or making the names slightly closely related to the righteous ones. Christopher Columbus was a Tawny Moor, and he was led on his voyage by a blackamoor named Peter the Black, or Pietro del Negro, or Peter the Nigger, whatever the fuck you want to call him. The White Hats is a group of retired military personnel in conjunction with active military generals who discovered the fraud and was more inclined to fight against the machine, so to speak, and then support the oppression of the people they swore to defend and protect. They believed one thing when they was taking their oath, but their corporation was telling them something else. Well, they didn't like that shit, and they got a lot of retired generals is very pissed about the deception, and they got a lot of close comrades to still active duty that was also pissed when they all discovered the fraud. So this is what caused them to come together, and this is how they was able to wrestle control of the military-industrial complex out of the hands of George Herbert Walker Bush and the Prescott family and the Rothschilds, Rockefellers, who was working for the black nobility of Europe in establishing it in order to have a military stronghold over here so that we could never come from under the oppression. But that shit don't work. We ain't that goddamn dumb. And then you fucked around and you let some pale faces that gave a fuck about these brown faces get in positions of power and see what the fuck they was doing. And just like I told y'all, all skin folk ain't kinfolk, but every motherfucker that don't look like you ain't your enemy either. Right? They use pale faces to block the institutions of learning, of finance, which is the banks, and for motherfucking social, which is politics, which is your city council, governments, and your school boards. We was all being blocked by pale faces from being able to get into any of those positions. So this is what was the cause of the Ellis Island immigration when they say Europe dumped out everybody they had on their streets and sent them over here, because it was a all pink motherfuckers on deck scenario. Everybody that looked like the motherfuckers they blocking the institution. If you ever want some shit called freedom on earth, come over here and we gonna overrun these institutions with friendly faces, and they gonna drag their motherfucking secrets out in the open too, like Madam H. P. Blavatsky or Aleister Crowley or Franz Bardone or Rudolph Steiner, motherfuckers that went in there and got that shit, like Manly P. motherfucking Hall, like motherfucking Henry Ford, that went and what's the motherfucking name? Napoleon Hill, the Carnegie family who financed Napoleon Hill to get all of their secrets out, as many as you can, on how to keep them motherfuckers self-successful. And we going to put all this shit in the public domain because they're not going to keep Earth oppressed. It was a lot of people that didn't look like us that did a lot of work to liberate people that look like us. But it's a lot of people that look like us that did a lot of work to we don't never get free. So y'all got to realize this shit don't got nothing to do with this right here. Don't have nothing to do with it. This don't have nothing to do with it. It's what's in here. This the shit that matter. What's in this motherfucker? What your heart made of? Y'all sit here, y'all don't realize. Go back and check out every motherfucking slave revolt, rebellion, or insurrection. It's going to always be somebody that don't look like us tell us, you know y'all a slave, right? If you want me to help you get free, I'll give you some guns, I'll give you some ammo, what you need. And then as soon as he get to telling us what we need to get free, some motherfucker look like us roll right in there and say, hey, Malcolm, they's plotting to escape on you, boss. I comes in to give them all up so I can get my motherfucking pension. Get your bitch ass out of here. And they always was spoiled by a motherfucker that looked like us that did not have our interest at heart. Cause there's no way the worst thing I discovered in all of this shit was the white man ain't white. That hurt my feelings so motherfucking bad. You could not imagine that I could say some niggas did this shit. That's the most upsetting thing to actually run across that shit, cross-reference it multiple times saying I can't be right. I can't be right. But every time you reference that shit and cross-reference it, say, yep, it was the white man ain't white. Some niggas was behind it the whole time. And all it is about right now, who gonna see these motherfuckers for what they is? Kanye West, Kyrie Irving, Rod Hayes. You know, the list goes on. Nation been telling us the whole fucking time. Ever since Elijah had to escape the Moore Science Temple and set up his own shit because them niggas was fighting over there trying to overthrow Moore Science Temple that Noble Drew Ali set up. So while they was so busy trying to tear that shit up and fighting on the inside for that shit, Elijah Muhammad just casually went on long and set up his shit like his wife told him, because Clara was the motherfucker that's the mirror flip to Farad Muhammad, but y'all don't know what I'm talking about. And that's where the power came from for the nation. Clara was the power. Clara was the real motherfucking Allah behind the scenes. Allah, the dark mother, big mama, the highest ranked matriarch on the land, you know. Our Love Ill done a good job of what he was working with. That nigga fought snakes the whole way. Our Love Ill and what's my man used to be with him all the time? I forgot his name, but our brother Our Love Ill fought snakes. He couldn't wait to get the keys over to motherfucking Angel Bay. Look, and you go back and look. If you knew how strong the Muftis was in the lifetime, the Muftis was just like FOI. You wasn't finna get your hands on the prophet unless you was on the inside. So I'm about to run down right in my mouth. I'm gonna take some callers in here. Maybe they can spark some conversation. Peace, Dad. What's going
Where you
on
living,
with you?
Golly? I just finished running. I was running. I didn't know you was gonna actually
Well,
let people
shit, you
join.
should never actually sent the motherfucking request. If you ain't, if,
Hey, man, it was a
look,
subconscious manifestation.
if somebody put the request in there, I'm just gonna go down the line. As they go off, I'll put the next one, next one, next one. The only time I don't do that is when I see it's
Hey,
if
nah.
like the energy, my energy might be too masculine. I got to get some females in here so I can calm the fuck down. But other than that, it's every person in the row the same order that they.
I feel you now. We can
Yeah,
chop
you
it up real
sweat. You
life.
look like me after
You know what I mean?
workout. I ain't worked out in
I
so
was,
long. I'm so out of shape.
I was, I was getting it in, man. Feel
Mm-hmm.
me? Had to tap in real quick.
Wait,
Nah, but everything you were
where you
saying was
calling
hitting,
from?
bro. I was feeling it. Feel me? I was just watching
Connecticut in the house.
Connecticut,
That's what's up.
Manchester, Connecticut. Yes, sir. By way of Brooklyn, though. For me, born from the state of the
Hey,
world.
look, they got natives up there where you at that look like you and me. They all up through there. They all up through
I
there.
see
They
them all
just
around.
going on, man, in their business.
Facts. All up on Mohegan, everything. Foxwoods, they got the whole reservation.
Yeah.
I see them all the time. Nah, but what was you what were we
Ah,
talking about?
man, it's
What's
open
the vibe?
conversation, man.
Let
You
me
got
chop it
anything on
up
your
for me.
mind you want to discuss?
Yeah, I was listening to Dane Calloway the other day on his live when he was speaking about the Afrikaners, and like you were just saying something essentially that resonated or like reflected with what he was speaking about literally 2 days ago about the imposters going to Africa first and then running the same operation on Americans or our homeland. Just basically
They don't
copy and
change
paste it.
tactics. That's how you can track them.
Facts.
That make them easy to track. The problem is that most of us don't believe somebody that looked like this, looked like me and you, would do what's been being done to us, to us. That's where the problem come in with solving the problem. That's the hardest part of solving the problem.
No, 100%. That's the psychological trap, because niggas looking for somebody that they looking for something that they can't find. It's like you're just looking in the wrong
Then
place.
they pull up these old geezer ass.
That's really wild.
Rockefellers, motherfuckers got to go get life support every night before they go to sleep at night, because they might not wake up the next morning. Talking about these motherfuckers running the show.
Yeah,
they
no,
can't run the show, man. Them motherfuckers ain't even smart enough to wipe their own ass.
Yeah, they learn everything from us. Like, once I learned about the primordial noon and that all life came from the black woman, I was like, there's no way that they're running anything here. Like, it's under our jurisdiction, essentially. Like, there's somebody who clearly looks like us, like you were saying, running the entire show. And it's like trickle-down economics. So they give it to them to enforce it against us so that we don't know who the actual enemy is.
They've been telling us the whole time,
really
it wasn't us. Your own people did it. And we like, motherfucker, what my people? Slap, boom, beat down. And then come to find out they right. And then you think about how many times you went upside somebody's head for telling you it was your own people, because it was somebody that looked like us that wasn't us. And they couldn't tell the difference.
Facts.
Shit, we just got to the point where we could tell the difference in them.
But hey, man. Yeah, no, I was about to say, like, it's literally under prophecy, so we all living it in real time.
Yeah, half of us don't know. If we seen the picture of David Koresh and the picture of Charles Manson and the picture of Jesus Christ, we couldn't tell you who was who. But most of us can't. We think they are Jesus. Oh, them just different pictures of people playing like Jesus. But the first picture was the fake picture.
Christian Bale, Passion of the Christ.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Caesar
But
Borgia.
really, the guy that sat in as the model for that picture was Michelangelo's cousin. And the guy that was the model for Moses was his uncle. All of those was really his family members. It just so happened that Caesar Borgia looked like Michelangelo's cousin too.
Chill.
So they accidentally fell up on some shit, discovered some shit. He wasn't even no hell of a Caesar. If it wasn't for the picture, we wouldn't even know he existed.
Yeah, because I didn't know he existed till it was literally about that. And I figured, you ever heard of Pastor Darby? Pastor Stephen Darby?
That sounds familiar.
Stephen Darby. Yeah, like he was a pastor like on YouTube going crazy for like the past 10 years. I'm pretty sure he passed away in like 2016, 17. But he was going on like from like 16, from like 2008 to like 2016 about all the esoteric nature of like how they flip the script in bibliology or I guess, religious texts in general, just like how they flipped it in music and all that things and just like our artistic nature. So like everything was really just reversed. That's how I was able to
put the Bible story together and unscramble it by learning the story that our ancestors left in stone for us. Oh, yeah, the Negro Land video that got him murked. Yep, I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. He was going crazy back in the day. That's where I was getting most of my information from initially. Because not going to lie to you, I wasn't really reading books. Like, I was just listening to people who I felt like their spirit resonated with mine. And I would just, like, learn the information and then go do my research on the internet myself.
So once you start getting the pieces and you start verifying, then you start putting the pieces together, you see the puzzle. The hardest part was when I first was studying in the Morris Science Temple, and I asked them where was the flag of the Bays. That sent the biggest red alert off to me in the history of mankind. They don't know nothing about no flag of the Bays. They have no fucking clue what I'm talking about.
Because they don't know who the Bays are.
That was we took the position in the L's versus the Bays, feathers versus the fezzes. The Bays was the ones who, the term Bays and Days are terms of provincial leaders from the Ottoman Empire. The
Okay.
Ali was the Grand Mufti that was in charge of the Caliphate. The Caliphate is the successorship of Prophet Muhammad, and the rightful heirs come down through a specific chain. So you need the Ali key in order to secure the birthright of the L's. The L's come from the Kabbalah, right? When they speak of L, they talk indefinite article L, the, right? But when the is left in of its own accord, when it stand alone, it's an irrational statement, right? Right.
Like
There's no way to reference it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the L's became known as the Elohim in Hebrew, but they became known as Neteru in Kemetic. You know, he buffering. That's when you know the shit getting hot, when they start making motherfuckers buffering shit. Okay, so by putting the ancient Egyptian holy drama together, the war between Set and Osiris, when which Osiris lost his life, and Set then had to fight his son Horus. This is called the holy drama, right? They call it the Book of the Dead. We call it the Book of the Coming Forth by Day, but it's none of that. It's really called the holy drama. It's a divine court case taking place between two rival brothers, and one of the brothers was married to the other brother's twin sister that he wanted to keep for himself. This unfolds the Cain and Abel story and the Esau and Jacob story. The redundancy of it shows you the pattern. So the story, so when they tell you Judas betrayed Jesus, Judas is Judah in Hebrew. It's not Judas. It's Judah. Right.
Yeah, it's the
so
tribe of Judah.
What they talking about, Judah is supposed to have, the so-called Christ had a twin brother. It was Simon and Judah. But they telling you everywhere these words you read is the words of somebody named Jesus. And that's not true, because you got two different people talking with decisively different characteristics. But if don't none of us study forensic profiling, we'll never figure that out. And my dumb ass was just ambitious enough to study forensic profiling. Why in the fuck did I do that? I fucked myself when now I can see this shit for what it is. And now I'm the only motherfucker that can see it. Now I look really crazy.
The mind. You look crazy to dumb people, though. Like, there are people who resonate with you who still don't understand your wherewithal, but they can feel what you're saying because they know it's true in their spirit. So it's like everybody needs a teacher. You just need to be able to comprehend what he's saying or what she's saying.
That's why I got so many references. Like, people don't know that, because newcomers will come and they'll be listening to that nigga just talking, but they ain't seen all the receipts yet. I done dropped so many motherfucking receipts. God
but that's
damn.
How people are trained to think.
I done gave motherfuckers the pages. I didn't even publish to put the pages in posts of books, showing people what I'm talking about. But the newcomer don't know. I'm talking now post after I done already gave the receipts. I gave the receipts in 2018. Everything I'm saying now, I'm saying it redundantly. I'm just saying the same shit over and over again. I'm talking about everything from cleaning your filters, aligning your chakras, grounded to the earth, to the spiritual baths, to the wake up, the enemy is at hand. This is where the motherfucker at. Don't take that bullshit in your arm, because these motherfuckers is lying to you, because they plan on rolling out a whole plan in the next 6 months, and 6 months later, here they come. We got to shut Earth off. Who the fuck turns the earth off the entire planet? Who they telling us a microorganism turned the entire earth off. Come on, man. They turned it
Yeah,
off.
some regular
The
shit.
earth had a big ass closed for business sign across that bitch when you pull up out of space. Closed. This nothing's moving. They literally closed the earth, man. Who got that kind of stroke? That's some stroke.
Yeah. It's not even that they have that kind of strength. It's the people that they're directing don't have the knowledge enough to know not to fucking follow it. Because we have all the real power. So it's like if people conform, it's going to work. Like it's like we're the trendsetters. They're just the speakers. So it's like if you're going to listen or revolt, people
Look,
didn't.
somebody said I just started listening to you. I need access to the receipts. This is a sister. She got a Rod Hayes receipts page on Patreon. She took her time, took my videos, the books I referenced that's in PDF, shit's in downloadable format. She put in some work. But
What's her Patreon
if the
name?
Patreon
So
page
they
is
could put
Rod
it in the chat.
Hayes Receipts.
Mm-hmm. Write that down there.
See what she got? RHEC. That's for the newcomers, that because somebody has been on my. Okay, so once I get done doing this, I'm gonna be on hiatus for about 6 months when this shit blow. While I'm on hiatus, I'm gonna download all my content on Facebook and Instagram. I gotta fight them for my other page that they closed just to get the content. Each one of them posts is gonna be a pamphlet, so you see with the timestamp and date and where it was posted at. All that's gonna be in there because a lot of people don't know the level of receipts I had to produce to be able to talk to people like I'm talking to them now. I had to prove to a whole lot of people that I know what the fuck I'm talking about, because if I can't prove it, and I'm telling y'all that the most traumatic thing I've discovered was the white man ain't white. That fucked me up. The black nobility.
Yeah, so imagine about somebody who doesn't have your
Yeah,
knowledge.
but the whole point being is they come in on the news, they never know how traumatic that was, because some of the people was watching when I made the final link on the video back in 2018. Right? Then I got to hesitate how I handle the Moors, because it's a bunch of good dudes that went in there to overthrow those motherfuckers playing their game. Right? But now that's their paradigm. That's their new Moorish paradigm now. So now the only remedy is Angel Bay clean out the dirty Moors and then re-educate the righteous Moors, right? That's the only remedy without throwing out the bathwater, the baby, and the bathtub, right? So we just want to throw out the dirty water. Them motherfuckers is in every organization. But when you watch when this shit come out, because somebody said, Rob, we need to know the organizations they running today. They've infiltrated every motherfucking lodge, every religious organization, every political organization, every educational organization, especially those that they call higher learning. Because by keeping you out of the schools of higher learning, they can keep you under the income umbrella. The income umbrella was designed that we never come above a certain socioeconomic level. This is why they bombed Black Wall Street. This is why they bombed Rosewood. Was a whole fucking Black Wall Street down there. They trying to tell us it's about black man whistle or raped some white girl, and then they went on a murderous mob rage and burnt down the city or some shit. That's bullshit. They was economically self-sufficient
Bullshit, yeah.
in Rosewood, just like they were in Black Wall Street in Tulsa. All they did was the same thing. They met up with the motherfuckers from Tulsa, where we call Atlanta today, when they left, because they understood the nature of warfare. And the nature of warfare is anytime your enemy run you out of somewhere, find where your allies at. This is why so many Floridians and Oklahomans in goddamn Atlanta. If they start tracing their bloodline, they're going to be fucked up. They was organic. They didn't want the tribes flourishing. We was in a warlock. That's why all of the money is fiat. Ain't backed by nothing.
Yeah.
It's monopoly money.
It's all fake currency. Yeah. It's literally faith. People just believe in it. That's what full faith and credit means.
I ain't got no faith in credit, because credit equals motherfucking debt, and debt is slavery.
Yeah. Work employment is slavery, even by definition.
Yeah. Well, they have a book that give you legal terms. It was called ipsum sui juris. And the term, the difference between an employee and a slave is wages. That's the difference. That's what the whole idea or concept of minimum wage came from. Anybody make less than minimum wage is automatically recognized as involuntary servitude or slavery, right? That's why you have to be a child to get paid less than minimum wage. And they trick the motherfucking servers at some of these restaurants and bars because your tips don't post account.
Yeah.
Melchizedek is a title. It means my angel, the just one. That's Malachi York. Sui juris, that means, yep, of the rightful ones, or of the rightful jurisdiction.
Yeah.
But the book is like sui juris ipsum or ipso sui juris. But this was the terms in early American law. See, a lot of us haven't read none of the law books, so we don't know that a lot of times in colonial America, the lawyer was the chief of a clan that came in, and he didn't even argue the case. He argued the standing of the court in order to hear the case. That's why a lot of the early American law books are only at certain law libraries, like the one in D.C., or the one in the state capitol, right? When you start going back to early American law, go back to cases between the Confederacy and the Union, where they were suing each other. And it was natives with feathers that was overseeing the court as the judge. We don't know nothing about that because we don't have access to those books unless we go to those law libraries. And those law libraries, you have to be a barrister to get in. And I just like telling my people where they hide they shit at.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's it. I've literally been getting into law recently, studying syntax, obviously, looking at the Constitution and all the American contracts, and realizing that they don't say anything because their format is adverb verb syntax. So, like, when you read it, it's actually just babble.
Yeah, well, the first thing that you have to understand is something in law called style and title. That's how it got to be wrote. If it's not written according to the proper style and title, it's not the person they claiming to be. And that's how I discovered the fraud, because the Constitution of Michigan, it had right in there if the style and title. And then when I pulled out my court documents, nothing was in the style and title proper. That immediately,
Exactly.
that's immediately
That's how most of them are.
identifying the fraud at its source.
And fraud negates all contracts. So at the moment there's one piece
Yep.
of fraud, it's null and void.
Yep. And that's the same thing I use to cancel all of the contracts from the position of a chief that's the de jure, right? Non-performance and fraud. Because they never honored any of the contracts they signed, and they signed them all under false pretense.
Mm-hmm. And they're complicit
Right.
in
And
fraud,
that's
so
why I tell
they got to be held
everybody that
accountable
if you
too.
don't want to be party to the fraud, you have to abandon the contract. And the only way to abandon the contract is anything that uses your straw man name, don't participate in it. So, like your job, you had to do a W-4 or W-2 or 1099. All of those is contracts tying you to the system. Soon as you realize the fraud,
Mm-hmm.
you abandon the contract. That way that the fraudster that wrote the contract trying to enforce it gets caught red-handed trying to enforce the contract. And that immediately gives you everything that he stole from you back because you didn't know you was in the fraud. The defense in the court of law is called the abandonment defense. Me and you could be going somewhere together. I don't
Yeah,
know what
right
you
of
finna
rescission.
do, but right before you go in the store you about to rob, you say, hey, bro, I'm about to rob this store. I said, man, I don't want no parts of that. I go home, you go rob the store, they arrest us both. Yeah, I ain't got nothing to say. You ain't got nothing to say. My lawyer come up, be like, look, man, I told that motherfucker I want nothing to do with it. He said, cool. I went home. He went and did what he did. And then your lawyer going, man, my man ain't had nothing to do with it. He went home. I went and robbed the store, right? Then your lawyer going to talk to my lawyer and say, hey, well, what is this called? This is called the abandonment defense for your client. But for my client, we have to sever the case or that's going to make him look worse. Right. So that's how you strategize in law.
Mm-hmm.
The abandonment defense is to protect the person who doesn't know they're being used as a cat's paw in a crime to give him an out. Somebody's finna bring you into a
Yeah,
criminal act and you don't want to participate. You got to have a way once you discover there's criminal activity going on. This is the abandonment clause of the act. Once you realize what's going on, I don't want nothing to do with that, right? And you did, yeah.
yeah, right
That's
of
you got
rescission.
to know how to protect yourself. Yeah,
What you do you know anything about the laws of
boxing.
boxing? Yeah, like it's like an unspoken agreement. Like anything in a box technically can exist
Oh no, that's a construct, right?
when it's on
So
paper.
you're talking about the yeah, well at the top where it put the box around the defendant and the yeah. Those are called
Yeah,
I forgot it's a name for them to put them in there. So basically, what it is when they take you into court, you're only a thumb drive. You don't really have anything
mm-hmm.
to do with anything going on in the courtroom. Everybody's a barrister but you. Automatic conflict of interest. Not just a conflict of interest, but it's a irreconcilable conflict of interest because anybody that comes to defend your interest has to be a bar member. And all bar members' first motherfucking
Yeah,
fiduciary duty is to the bar, which overrides any duty to you. So now you caught in a conundrum. You
yeah. They
can't,
all
there's
work for the
nothing you
crown.
can do to be part and party to this action because there's no way you could participate in this action without a bar member.
Yeah. Anytime anyone gets signed over to jail, your lawyer or your attorney has to sign off on you to even go. Them, the judge, and the clerk. And the clerk has the
Yeah,
most
the
power
clerk
in
is a
every
bar
courtroom.
member too. And the clerk is the one who holds the lien because it's a lien in the courtroom every time you go in there. That's what your file is. Your file has a lien in it. And that lien in
Yes.
that file, you are the thumb drive there's or the evidence. That's all you is evidence in court. A thumb drive. Well, I got 9 seconds remaining. I'm probably gonna come back on for an hour. So if y'all watching, Now log back on, log right back in. All right, guys.